Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. I'm Rex Nelson, Democrat-Gazette senior editor, and it's been a while, but happy to welcome back to the program Gina Gimberling of the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau. Gina, good to have you back again because there's so much going on. I thought we better devote another 30 minutes to what's happening around Little Rock right now.
Well, Rex, thanks so much for having me today. We love to talk tourism, and there's lots going on in tourism to tell you about today.
There really is, and as I point out on a regular basis, and I know you say this too. We're not just talking tourism, but we're talking economic development, community development when we do, because the things you do, whether it's the river market or the parking that you provide downtown, those are also quality of life amenities for those of us who live here, not just the visitors that you're bringing into Little Rock, right?
Absolutely. So many of our attractions and our things to do here, and even our restaurants and retail establishments, many of those are here due to tourism. And tourism is a big part of their business that makes them successful, and at the same time bringing so much revenue into our city.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, a lot of what you do is downtown, where we are taping the show right now, and I have been writing a series of columns because there's so much going on, but at a time when, as you well know, the downtowns of a lot of cities, ever since the pandemic, when a lot of workers started working from home, downtowns are really struggling. It's really exciting. I mean, I'm on the third floor of this building where we're taping. I can look out and I can see the Boyle building being renovated. I can see the tech park expanding out my window. I mean, that is two major projects downtown, and there's a lot more to come. That's pretty exciting to watch right now.
And that's definitely the story we tell when we're trying to attract groups and conventions and even the leisure traveler. It's not just our sites and attractions and those type of activities we have for them, but it's also the investment that's happening in the city of Little Rock. As you mentioned, several things in the downtown area. You look at East Village with the Arkansas Symphony and potential expansion of the Clinton Center. There's just so much opportunity coming up in the next few years.
Absolutely. In fact, I was counting up just earlier this week, working on a column. There's going to be a great restaurant on the first floor of the Boyle building. When that restaurant opens, which I'm a foodie, as you know, so I'm excited about right here by the office. But when that restaurant opens, from the Statehouse Convention Center to the Donaghy building, just that one stretch of Main Street, Gina, you're going to have 11 good restaurants. We've had the culinary now move into the tech park. Of course, you've got 7 on one block there, threefold. I mean, that I would have to think is a selling point that you can use now in drawing meetings and conventions to Little Rock, saying, look, it's a walkable downtown. There's 11 restaurants just on this one stretch now.
Most definitely. So many of our conventions, they will break over the noon hour. They might not have a scheduled meal function. So it does give them the opportunity to go out and explore the city and enjoy all of our fine dining opportunities and our culture that we have to offer.
Now, speaking of things happening downtown, you announced back in December, and again, it's another kind of polishing the jewel downtown that I'm glad to see. The work that you're doing renovating the Finley Vinson Plaza, which I think a lot of people don't even know the name, but they just know the fountains in front of the DoubleTree Hotel. Talk about that little project a little bit.
Absolutely. That is a project in space in our downtown area that most people probably don't even realize that it's LRCVB and the A&P Commission controlled. It is the space over top of the parking garage of the Robinson Center and the DoubleTree Hotel. And that space is LRCVB's. We maintain and operate that space. We've been looking at it for years. You know, that fountain and that plaza was built in 1973. And it's been on our radar for quite some time. But of course, projects like that are costly.
Exactly.
And we had put quite a bit of priority into the Statehouse Convention Center the last few years, just at about $10 million worth of renovations and construction in that facility. But we knew it was time, going through our tourism master plan that we launched in 2023. We did realize, you know, placemaking is such a big piece of the visitor appeal, as well as convention business, and as well as for the local resident. We think it's really important that even though so much of what we do is for the visitor and the convention attendee and to draw groups and tourism dollars to Little Rock, it's also important for us to give back to the community and what can we provide to the community. So we really feel this first phase of the Finley Vincent Plaza, where we will cover the fountain in a pavilion type facility that we'll be able to do activations in, activities before events at the Robinson Center, and just have activity going on in that part of downtown. This will be the first phase. We hope to have second and third phase complete by, I would say, late 2026,
Yeah.
that it would all be complete with some better seating area, adding some AstroTurf, cleaning up some of the, and repurposing some of the bricks that have just worn through the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Since I mentioned Finley Vincent, I've got to mention to you, Gina, when I was a young editor of Arkansas Business, because we're talking 35 years ago, I spent the larger part of a day with Mr. Vincent. He was a bank chairman here, Mr. Downtown Little Rock, and he told me the story of when they built what is now the Regents Tower downtown, how he was determined to have a world-class restaurant on that top floor of that building. Went to Europe personally, found chefs, found pastry chefs. You've read the stories since you've lived here of Jacques and Suzanne. All of the spinoffs that came out of that, even though that restaurant no longer exists, out of that was really the start of Little Rock being a great culinary destination. And again, I know that's one of the things you sell, is that this is a city that really punches above its weight class when it comes to food right now.
It does, and we have so many locally owned restaurants and facilities to visit. It showcases the culture of Little Rock. And as you said, a lot of this came from many years ago. Jim Keith, that serves on our A&P
Yeah.
commission for several years now. You know, he's filled me in on the culinary scene and how it came to be, and it's phenomenal on what we have to offer now to our visitors and our residents.
Yeah, that's one of the first comments. Anytime I have out-of-state visitors come to Little Rock and I take them some places, it's always that I had no idea, and that is one of the things. So I'm glad that plaza honors Mr. Vincent, because he really started that, and glad that work is going on. That's going to be a beautiful addition to that stretch.
Many people believe that the next big thing in Arkansas is lithium. Hi, I'm Ainsley Platt, an environment reporter at the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. For months, I've been covering efforts to bring lithium extraction to Arkansas and the roadblocks that have popped up along the way. The lithium held in the brines underneath South Arkansas could help the U.S. meet its goal of developing a domestic supply of a critical mineral that powers everything from electric vehicles to iPhones. However, a recent Arkansas Oil and Gas Commission decision has thrown a new wrench in those efforts, potentially endangering hundreds of millions in investment in extraction projects. I want to make sure you stay informed about how these decisions might affect you and your community. If you find this kind of reporting valuable, you can support my work by subscribing at arkansasonline.com/ADG now.
Talking of that stretch of avenue, you mentioned work that you've done on the Statehouse Convention Center. Talk a little bit about what has happened there in recent years to upgrade what we have to offer when we bring conventions to town.
Sure. During the pandemic, we had obviously frozen a lot of our capital projects and just hit pause for a little while. Coming out of the pandemic, it was time to really hit it full force, that facility. The convention center is aging. It looks great for its age, but we've put about $10 million into it now. We'll By the time it's all said and done, hopefully the middle of next year, we'll be at about 15 million. We've, in the gallery halls, which are the halls outside the exhibit hall, we've completely renovated them with some new shadow boxes that really highlight the activities and the attractions here in Little Rock, as well as the whole atrium area with new tile lighting, wall coverings as well, many new chairs. Chairs are so expensive. Meeting room chairs are so expensive. A couple years ago, I think we ordered 8,000 chairs just for the exhibit hall alone.
Wow.
Which hits, close to right around $1 million. But also, we're finishing the last phase right now of all the restrooms in the Statehouse Convention Center. We've added 2 LED walls, one in the atrium and one right outside of the exhibit halls, that really give us the opportunity to showcase what Little Rock has to offer. And when events and convention attendees are in our facilities, they can see that what else there is to get them and to encourage them to go out into the community and explore the community.
Yeah, and I just did a couple of columns recently while we're on that stretch of street there in your facilities, mentioning the DoubleTree and the Finley Vincent Plaza. January marked the 85th anniversary of what once was Robinson Auditorium, now the Robinson Center Music Hall. But of course, more than $70 million a few years back was put into that. And that's really, again, a grand attraction. Here we have a place that is 85 years old, but looks better than it's ever looked right now, and continues to attract big names. We just announced Bob Dylan as we tape this show coming. So,
yes, and all.
What a great amenity for downtown that is after that $70 million plus of work that was done.
The Robinson Center, it is absolutely beautiful, the auditorium. I enjoy going to as many activities there as I can and performances. And it reopened in November of 2016.
Okay.
So even that building, when you think of the number of attendees and patrons that are going through the buildings, it takes a lot to maintain them. Mm-hmm. We just, for example, put around $200,000 just in touch-ups in the seating in the theater.
Gotcha.
So
it's constant.
So
I know it's constant.
It is constant. I mean, it looks great now. We've added some painting. We have some lighting to fix. But it is a constant maintenance, construction. Our organization is always looking at how we can maintain our facilities to make sure that they are comfortable for our residents and our visitors as well.
Yeah. All right. So we've touched on the Robinson Center. We've touched on the Finley Vincent Plaza. We've touched on the Statehouse Convention Center. Let's continue down the street. I know we talked about this the last time, but still a lot of talk about reimagining the River Market Hall. Give us an update on where you are on all of that right now.
The A&P Commission and the CVB, we manage the River Market Hall as well as the amphitheater and the pavilions for the city of Little Rock. Traditionally, previously, we have not, as an organization, invested capital dollars in those facilities because they are owned by the city.
Right.
But yet we've managed them and continued to operate them. We have been working with the city for nearly 2 years, trying to identify a public-private partnership of some sort to come in, take over the food hall, or reimagine that whole facility. We've had multiple groups, national groups. We've worked with JLL nationally that has attracted several large corporations to come in and look at that facility. And I think we have it narrowed down to some good options for us. The city will be putting out an RFP or an RFQ officially soon. So we hope to have an announcement by, I would say, third quarter of this year at the latest.
Right.
And hopefully this time next year we're under construction.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. That is exciting. And again, not one of your facilities, but continuing on down the street, fundraising beginning now for an addition to the Clinton Center. We'll have the Hillary Clinton wing. I mean, we're talking, this is not minor. We're talking maybe up to a $200 million addition at some point. And, that's just really additions, growing presidential museums is not something that you've heard of. So, there's not a timetable set now because a lot depends on financing, but boy, that's going to be another great attraction for you to sell in Little Rock when that happens.
We are so excited about what the Clinton Center expansion will be able to do for all of downtown Little Rock and Little Rock as a whole as far as destination perception. And we think back of when the Clinton Center was built 20 years ago and opened 20 years ago and what that did to the face of downtown 20 years ago. And now we look at what opportunities are there for their current expansion. We're just extremely excited about it.
Yeah. Even before that, I did a column recently because I just did the math basically in my head, but we mentioned the $70 million that was put into the Robinson Center, about $180 million raised for the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, which we can talk about if we want to, but again, another world-class facility for downtown. New symphony headquarters right by the Clinton Center, another $12 million or so. The Wingate Art Space now being built at a cost of over $30 million that will house all kinds of artists. You take just those 4 projects in the arts and the performing arts, and that's close to $300 million of investment in the arts in downtown. That's not bad when you add that together for a city of 200,000 people. $300 million.
Absolutely. The art scene is one of our key market segments that we do promote. You look at the sculpture art down in Riverfront Park and with the Arkansas Symphony, the Arkansas Ballet, the Rep. We have so many offerings when it comes to arts that it really is phenomenal for a city of our size.
Everyone loves a good place to eat, and few things are more discouraging than spending good money on a bad meal. I'm Eric Harrison, and I write for the Style section at the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Knowing where to go, what to try, and how much you'll shell out go a long way toward making sure readers find the experience they are looking for rather than paying for big disappointment. Help us create a marketplace where consumers can rely on reviews and make informed choices by subscribing at arkansasonline.com/ADGnow.
Now, I know it's a lot more complex than an elevator pitch, but we have time restraints. I know as you're trying to get big meetings, conventions, sometimes those relationships are built up over years, not just months. I understand that. But the short version, the executive version, if you will, when you go out and say, bring your meeting to Little Rock, what is it that you sell? Why is Little Rock a good place for these people to come?
If it's a large convention that, will only fit at the Statehouse Convention Center, because we do represent all of Little Rock, although so much of what we do is in the downtown area. Mm-hmm. One of the things that attracted me here to Little Rock is it's so important that you can tell how much emphasis the city leaders in the past have put on tourism and making their downtown. And when you start at Robinson Center and you go to the Clinton Library and you look at all the infrastructure in that area, the Robinson Center, the Doubletree, the Doubletree Hotel and the Marriott Hotel are actually city properties that are leases. And the fact that the city had that foresight that many years ago to build that infrastructure tells you how much the city and the community care about tourism, and that goes back to how we welcome tourists and convention attendees to Little Rock.
Yeah, as I was coming in, it was kind of good timing as I was coming in to tape this show here at the corner of Capitol and Scott in downtown. One of the downtown ambassadors was right out front picking up trash. Now, this is a program you have helped fund at the Convention Visitors Bureau. The city has also helped fund, but these people are all over downtown 7 days a week to help visitors, give them directions, walk them to their cars. Boy, in my opinion, somebody who works downtown and is downtown virtually every day, that has been a tremendous addition to downtown. And thank you to LRCVB for your money that you've put into that program.
Well, we have invested considerably in that program since it started. It was a program that was thought of by Downtown Little Rock Partnership and Gabe Holmstrom. We have to give him all the shout outs and credit for thinking of that program and really getting behind it to make it happen. Our organization in the city, we finance the program. And coming out of COVID, so many downtowns were struggling just with cleanliness, activity in the downtown. So it was at a time when our city really needed just that the extra sparkle, let's say, and the extra cleanliness.
Yeah, and you're right. In a lot of cities, that's why I mentioned it's so good to see these kind of things going on. A lot of cities are still struggling. I read stories every day about their downtowns that have been struggling ever since COVID. And yet you have had, I mentioned the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, you have had new attractions to sell. I know my friend Joe David Rice, when he was tourism head for the entire state, used to always say, think of the state as an amusement park, and you've really got to add a new ride every year. And I've always liked that analogy, and that was Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts was a great new ride, quote unquote, for Little Rock, if you will.
Yes, it was. We're so proud of that. And of course, all of the culture and the history here in Little Rock are our top selling features.
Yeah. Now, Gina, you mentioned, of course, we've been talking about downtown, but of course you do represent the entire city, bringing people to the city. As you know, in addition to being a foodie, I'm a sports nut too, and one of the things I've mentioned is let's try to take this Arkansas State football game that we're having this fall and hopefully make it an annual thing one day. But, the first time the two have ever played in football, that strikes me, even if I weren't a sports nut, is a huge deal for Little Rock and something that we've got to get right at every level as a city, and then hopefully maybe make that an annual event in years ahead.
Sure. We love hosting the Razorbacks. This past year, because of the night of the game, we were unable to host a special event, but 2 years ago we hosted a pep rally down through Markham to Clinton Avenue and went down into the amphitheater and had it was a great attendance with about 2,500 people that came out just to, cheer on the Razorbacks and enjoy the marching band.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about big picture, the economic impact that tourism visitors are having on Little Rock right now, and kind of your outlook. We're still early in the year, kind of your outlook for the rest of 2025, if you will.
Sure. In 2023, visitor spending was at $1.5 billion just in Little Rock alone. It takes a little bit for us to get our spending numbers, so therefore we are going back to 23, which was a phenomenal year. Coming out of COVID.
Yeah, everybody was ready to get out. Yeah.
Meetings and conventions were back strong. So that 1.5 billion we're very proud of. Tourism is 8,500 jobs just in Little Rock alone. And the taxes that are generated from tourism saves each Little Rock household right over $1,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So those are big numbers, and it's important that we spread that word on tourism when it does for the overall economy.
Yeah. Now, back in 2023, you mentioned that was a really big year. That was also the first year that you rolled out a 10-year tourism master plan for the first time. So first, tell me why that's important to have a master plan in place, and then talk about a little bit about what the master plan said and how you're implementing all that's in that.
Sure. The tourism master plan, we felt coming out of COVID that it hit our industry so hard. Coming out of COVID, it was important for us to really put a plan in place on where our organization, as well as the community, saw tourism, the assets of tourism for for the next 10 years. So since immediately when we unveiled the tourism master plan in 2023, we also unveiled our 2023 business plan, which was a full 20-some page document, a lot of things for our organization to do and accomplish. Mm-hmm. And this year we are getting ready for our third year of that implementation. But there's things, there's 9 key pillars in the tourism master plan, everything from product development, tourism infrastructure, placemaking, a lot of things that we've talked about already on this segment as far as placemaking in the plaza, as well as tourism infrastructure and the infrastructure of the convention center, as well as the River Market Hall. So we try and hit each of these points, and we are dedicated to continuing on a positive plan for that 10-year master plan.
Yeah. So let's look ahead. Where do you any developments, things that you're doing differently? Where do you kind of see us going as a city as far as what the Convention Visitors Bureau does? Not only in the next year, but maybe over the next 5 years and the next 10 years. What do you see happening? What would you like to see happening?
Sure. Well, first, as a destination marketing organization, our primary goal is to sell and market Little Rock to our visitors and conventions and groups. Targeted marketing is so important, so it stretches our dollars further because everyone has just a certain, that specific dollar amount in their marketing budget. So we right now are in the process of a visitor profile study, which is going to give us more specifics on the visitors that are coming to Little Rock, what they're doing. Are we their final destination, or are they on their way? Maybe they're snowbirds and they're on their way down to further south. So that will help us further our marketing efforts and be more strategic in our marketing efforts. We are also getting ready for a resident sentiment study, which is a fairly new initiative in the destination marketing space, and that's reaching out to our residents to find what do they think of tourism in their community. What do they think of the tourism infrastructure in the community, and how they see tourism advancing in the future? So we're really excited about those two projects, because I really think that's going to help tell our story and give us a better path forward in the next few years. Of course, always on our radar are indoor and outdoor sports facilities.
Right.
They've been on LRCVB's radar for a year. We just need to come up with some funding for those, as well as it's time to start talking about an expansion of the Statehouse Convention Center, which would need to also include another headquarter hotel downtown. So those are things that are on our near to a little bit further down the road, but it's things that we already are talking about and starting to plan and look for revenue streams for.
Do you find, and I'm asking in general now, but you mentioned the resident sentiments study, do you find that the average resident just really does not realize how big an impact on the overall economy of the city that tourism has? Would that be safe to say?
I think that's safe to say, and I think that's in most communities, in most destinations of our size. So tourists, when they're in our community, they look like us.
Yeah.
So it's hard to spot if there is a convention in town many times, unless they're wearing their name badge. And the visitors that are enjoying our outdoors, our Arkansas River Trail, the Big Dam Bridge, they look like all of us do when we're out on the trails. So it's really hard for our local residents to see what tourism does bring to our community. I think one of the things with the LRCVB, we're a little different than most convention and visitors bureaus around the United States. We're pretty fortunate that we do manage and operate the Statehouse Convention Center, as well as the Robinson Center, multiple parking garages in town. That gives us better negotiating power when we are reaching out to
because a lot of
other
these are just a
conventions.
marketer, basically. You're more than a marketer. You're an operator.
Right.
Yeah. A
Most
facilities operator and a big one. Yeah.
Exactly. Most convention and visitors bureaus are a sales and marketing arm, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we have a lot more responsibility here in Little Rock, but also I think we need to be sure to let our residents know, in addition to the conventions and meetings and groups that we're trying to bring to Little Rock, there is also that leisure market segment, and there's people that are coming here to enjoy and learn more about Central High and go to the Museum of Fine Arts and the Clinton Library. We do have a lot of leisure travelers here as well, and that is a story that we'd like to continue to tell.
Yeah. What are the biggest misimpressions, I guess is the word I'm looking for, that that you fight? Is it, well, city of 200,000, there can't be much to do there, or is it, which of course cities all over fight, it's not safe? What kind of things do you have to fight that you have to go out and say, no, this is just not true?
What we hear very often when we are at national trade shows is Little Rock. They just had not possibly thought of Little Rock. We're not on their radar. They think of the Clintons when they hear Little Rock, of course, which has helped us put us on the national scene. But so it's not that there's a bad perception, there's just little perception. So which makes it more and more important for our organization to continue to expand those marketing dollars. So much of what we do is outside of this community. So the folks locally do not see our advertisements and our media buys that we are doing on a regional and national level. And it's so important that we continue to tell that story as well as continue to increase that budget line for us, because they always say tourism is the first date of economic impact.
Yeah.
People will come to a destination, enjoy the destination, and in a few years they might decide to relocate their family, their business, and other things to our community.
Gina, I knew this would go fast. The 30 minutes is up, but thank you so much. I'll get you back soon because I know there's a lot happening. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what the Little Rock Convention Visitors Bureau is doing. It really is an exciting time for the capital city right now.
It is. Well, thanks so much for having me, and anytime we love to talk tourism.
Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.